guys, how we will do? Okay, so we have to see like few points. Okay. Um, let's say today we'll discuss two topics, assume. Okay. So what we do before the next class, you have to revise everything definitely, right? So in the next class, whenever we'll be having like, so first 10 or 15 minutes we can spend on the doubts or maybe any query or any other discussion. Okay. So first we'll spend around 10 or 15 minutes on those stuff, what we have done and how those things happen, right? Everything. And then we'll start the new topics. Okay. Second, let's say we are doing anything, let's say any protocol, any stuff, any lab we are doing. And if you do not understand clearly, you can ask me, you can stop me at the same time and I can start from scratch again. Okay. Make sure you get the point, every single point. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay, sir. Sure.
yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay. And one more thing, assume we will do something. Assume, let's say we are doing static routing. I'm just taking very zero example. Okay. Let's say we are doing static routing. Okay. And let's say if you really don't know how we do that on Cisco router, like those IP route command, those two stuff, then next hop, then something, these three stuff. If you really don't know those things even, you can stop me. What I'll do, I'll try to teach that part. Okay. And then we will go further. Is it fine?
Yeah, fine, sir.
Okay. One more thing last. Okay. And okay, sorry. I was having 3, 1 minute. Mm, mm. Yeah, I forget one more thing I had in mind. Practicals. Okay, what I'll be doing, I'll compare with Cisco. First of all, it is like not exactly compare. Let's say if I'll talk about routing protocol, if I talk about implementation, if I'll talk about any ACL or stuff or like security policies, so I will try to correlate with Cisco protocols, with Cisco behavior, what we had in the Cisco or what we have in the Cisco right now. Okay, and what difference or how exactly the stuff or the protocol is working the FortiGate. Okay, so that once we compare, right, so let's say we are doing some comparison and then we are learning, so it basically give us a higher chance to learn better, because while doing comparison you really get to know, okay, the Cisco was doing something like that and it was having this protocol behavior, right, and the FortiGate is having this behavior. So in future, definitely while doing some deployment, right, you will get the chance where you will be having a Cisco router, one FortiGate, you want to do something in between them, so you should know the behavior of Cisco and the behavior of the FortiGate, how they work at that time using a protocol, right? So that also we will be doing mostly. Okay. Any confusion, anything you want to ask or like anything in your mind right now?
So in Cisco, you mentioned Cisco along, we will compare with 48.
We'll
So
compare.
Cisco firewall you will
No, no,
be
no.
comparing?
Cisco protocols. Let's say in general, let's say I'll teach security policy. So I will try to correlate with the ACL that time, right? Because ACL have kind of similar function of this security policies, right? Or vice versa, we can say. So if you really know ACL very well, it will be very easy to understand the security policies, right? Let's say we'll be doing some net here. So here we have two types of net, like two way to do the configuration. Okay. So I will try to check what we have in the Cisco right now and how that works. And then if I'll teach that part, it will be very easy to understand. Okay. Yeah. Any question, Monica?
No, 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 no questions.
Sanjay, anything from your side?
No, sir.
Okay. Cool. So initially, like we will discuss today, let's say, because initially we have to set up the lab. Okay. So we will see how we can set up a lab. Okay.
Mhm.
And how many ways we have to do to set up the lab. So in the way, like we are learning how to set up a lab. It means indirectly what you are learning, let's say in your company, if your boss asks you to deploy a firewall, right? And they really don't want to buy a physical hardware from the Fortinet. Okay. Okay. Tell me one thing before starting these things. Sometimes we say Fortinet, sometimes we say Fortigate. right?
Right, right.
And what are these things? Why Fortinate? Why Fortigate? At what point of time we use Fortinate? At what point of time we use Fortigate? Any idea? Monica,
Yeah.
you should give me some answer, right? You're working on this Fortigate.
Yeah, but I don't have any ideas. So like,
Okay. Okay. Sanjay, you
No, sir.
any
No
idea?
idea.
Assume you go like we have done everything, right? But we have not discussed this part. And in the interview, they ask first thing this one. Tell me this part. Why Fortinate? Why Fortigate? And then you say, oh, I don't know. They will say, okay, just go. Look, Fortinate is a company name. Okay.
Okay.
okay,
Is a company name. Fortigate is a solution. Okay. This is company name. This is your company. Fortinet is a company. Fortigate is a solution, the one we are learning. Okay. They have multiple products, assume. One company might have multiple products, right? This Fortigate Firewall, what we are learning, that's a Fortigate actually. Okay. Fortinet is a company name. Got it?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Is it clear?
So Fortigate is specifically for firewalls, huh?
We can say actually. So that's a product. So if someone asks what is Fortinet, what is Fortigate, Fortigate is a product. Okay. And that's a company name actually.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
clear.
Okay.
Clear.
Okay. So in the companies, what happens actually, let's say we have to deploy a firewall, right? So assume we are not trying to buy a physical hardware, let's say very startup company or something, or even just for the testing, we have to do something, right? Or let's say before the real deployment, right? We have to create HLD, LLD, and we have to do some, we can say, R&D and stuff, right? How the network will look like and how we have to go, right? So that time the virtualization is the best stuff, right? So we will learn how many ways we have to use or how many ways we have to deploy the firewall on the virtualization. Okay. So that we call it as on-prem, right? And when we say on cloud also, that is kind of very similar stuff. Okay. Tell me one thing. Do you really understand the difference between on-prem and on cloud?
On-prem in the sense like we are have those some services on the production as a hardware, and on cloud means like something virtually we are using it.
But even that
And
is virtually, we are
huh?
not, we are
Yeah,
not
so
by,
on-prem like we have installed in our local organization, but on cloud we have installed on the cloud-based solution like Azure and AWS.
exactly. So you see, when we just say a FortiGate firewall, physical appliance, that is appliance. But when we try to call this on-prem solution, on-cloud solution, that is something in on-prem, I do have a server in my company running, and that's a, let's say we have enough storage, enough RAM, enough CPU, right? And I want to utilize the same server for my FortiGate services. Okay. On cloud is something shared services on cloud. Look here, what happens when we talk about on cloud? Let's say Amazon, AWS, these Amazon, right? And we have few more. Azure we have, okay. Cloud also we have, right? This, sorry, Google Cloud we have. So what are these things? They have somewhere a DC. They have a racks of n numbers of rack they have, right? And then let's say two customer want to purchase something, so they will just use the same hardware and they will use as a shared services, right? They will allocate some few resources, CPU, RAM, or something, right? So on-prem is something I do have that hardware in my company locally, I can manage that individually, and a single hardware will be there for my services. On cloud is something we are trying to buy a resource, but that resource will be somewhere in the DC as a shared services. Got it?
Yeah, got it.
yeah,
Any question? It means they both, we will be using virtual images. Okay. Now, when we say, let's say what Amazon will be supporting, what Azure will be supporting, so that we have to just check what are the capabilities we have or what are the limitations we have over there, what exactly they support. And as per those information, we can deploy the virtual images. But when we say on-prem, we can use any solution. Okay, now what are those virtual images or those virtual solution? Okay, when we say this virtual images or virtual solution, those are something. The first is your VMware products, where we have workstation, we have ESXi, and we have few more solutions. But those solutions are kind of, we have to just first of all onboard ESXi, and then we can use those part to centralize, to have the centralized management. Okay, but yeah, the story is till this point. We have KVM Hypervisor. Even this is hypervisor, but that's a different hypervisor. Okay. So here, what we use what we call it? Okay, Linux based, we can say. Okay. QEMU. This is a service name that we use. Okay. The other one we have is Microsoft V. Microsoft virtualization. So that is Microsoft Hyper-V. Okay. Oh, let me put it complete name. Microsoft Hyper-V. Okay, that is Microsoft based solution. Okay, now, first of all, in VMware, we have two products. One is Workstation and one is ESXi. Do you know the real difference between these two solutions?
Which ones are VMware and Hypervisor?
No. In the VMware itself, we have two solutions, two products. One is Workstation, one is ESXi. We can use any of them to deploy the Fortigate Firewall, okay, or any firewall. But what is the main difference between these two? We prefer Workstation or we prefer the ESXi. What exactly you think? And guys, we will be having kind of session. I'll be asking few things and I'll basically check what you know, and then I'll start from scratch if required. Okay. I hope it's fine, right?
Yeah, it is fine.
Cool. So tell me, what is the main difference between these two, or what do you think about these two different solutions? Anything wrong, right? Just tell me. No idea?
Yes, sir.
No worries. Look here. When you say workstation, that's an application actually. And when we say A6i, that is the operating system. Okay, NOS, network operating system. Now, can you now give me some idea what is the main difference between these two?
Yes, application means we are using like Oracle
Mm-hmm.
and then deploy the FortiGate image on the Oracle software.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in ESXi, we can directly deploy on the FortiGate image.
Okay. Okay. I'll explain. Hey, hi, Kushal.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Kushal, we just started actually. Okay. We have just discussed the very basics. You can check the recording for these stuff. These are nothing. Okay. And then we started with the main difference between Fortinate and Fortigate. Okay. Fortinate is a company name and Fortigate is a solution actually, what they provide. Okay. And then having a discussion, what is the difference between on-prem, on-cloud? So we had the discussion and now we are into the virtual images. So this is what we are
Okay.
doing. Okay. So this is very starting of the session. Okay. Yeah. So Kaushal, do you know the real difference between workstation and the ESXi? What is the difference between VMware workstation and VMware ESXi?
ESXi is basically it's a kernel for the VMware,
Oh, awesome. That's a real technical
and
word. Yeah. Perfect. Nice. And what is workstation?
workstation is like you can you can like a Windows OS machine that's called a workstation, or any kind of Linux or any kind of like operating
VMware,
system,
VMware workstation.
desktop, laptop.
No. Okay, VMware workstation, VMware
Oh,
product.
VMware. Okay, there's
Yes.
a virtual machine like a server or
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Very close. Okay, I'll tell you now. Look, guys. So I'll just start from very basic. Let's say I do have a laptop where we are running any window. Assume. mm, okay, first of all, let's say that hardware will have some CPU, will have some RAM, will have some other stuff also. Okay. Now, what we are doing here, we have installed one operating system that is, let's say, Windows 10. Assume Windows 10. Right now, this Windows 10 will have a kernel. What is kernel? Kernel is something that will have direct access to your CPU. It means whenever, let's say, you want to trigger something, let's say I want to note down something here like this. So this information will go to Windows or my Mac, that will go to kernel, that instruction, and kernel will send an instruction to CPU and that will process the stuff, right? That's a kernel. Now, over top of Windows 10, what I'll be doing? I'll be installing. So as you know, that is application actually. VMware Workstation is application. So I will install just like a normal application, right? So over top of this, I will install one application that is Workstation application. Okay. And then over top of that, what I'm doing, I'm installing FortiGate Firewall. Okay. Now assume, first of all, this Windows 10 will definitely have some priority task, right? Definitely, Windows 10 will have some other modules, some other component running in the background, right? And definitely those will be priority on the priority for the Windows machine, right? Definitely, right? And this workstation, whatever, there is just application, VMware Workstation, right? This will have one another application that is FortiGate actually over top of workstation. It means whenever I will schedule some task here, okay, what will happen here? This task will go to, let's say, I'll schedule a task and that has to process. The task will go to this workstation, right? And then this workstation will try to share that task to Windows machine. And then at the point of time, Windows machine, let's say, is busy to process any other priority task, right? What it will do? It will keep that task on the hold, right? And then once that is done, then only it will process the information to kernel to CPU. Agree? So in this situation, what is happening here? There are chances we will have the delay or we will have the slowness issue in the FortiGate machine. Got it? Any confusion, any doubt? Just yes or no. So I can explain again if that is not clear.
No, we good.
Okay, perfect. Next. Sanjay, Monica.
No, sir, it's clear.
Okay, so just give me confirmation, right? So I can move forward then, right?
Yeah, good, sir.
Okay, now when we talk about the ESXi, this is a NOS as we had the answer kernel direct access to kernel. It means once the same hardware, let's say I'm talking about the same hardware, that laptop, right? That has CPU and RAM something. Now over top of that, I will directly install ESXi. It means I do have the kernel access directly in the ESXi, right? And now over top of this, I will install directly that FortiGate machine. So the behavior of the workstation and the behavior of ESXi will be same. ESXi will have basically n numbers of benefit, the one we do not have in the workstation directly. Okay, that's a workstation only. Now here, the moment I will execute any task here, that will go to ESXi and ESXi says, oh, okay, fine, I have a task I have to send to the kernel. It means you see, now this FortiGate machine will have the direct access to the kernel, right? There's no in between mediator or something that will keep the task on hold due to some other reasons, and then it will send the packet out or those decision later, right? So here that's a ESXi. So if I just talk about, or if I just ask in the company, you'll be using workstation or you'll be using ESXi, what your answer will be now?
What was the question, sir?
Yeah, the question is now after this one, right? In your company, if someone asks to deploy the FortiGate firewall, you'll be asking to have one solution where you want to use the VMware workstation or VMware ESXi. Which one you prefer then?
VMware ESXi.
Right? Because now you have the direct access to the kernel, correct? Okay, cool. Any confusion, any doubt till this point? Sanjay, anything?
No, sir.
Monica, anything from your side?
No.
Okay, guys, give me 2 minutes, huh? I'll be back. Just 2 minutes. Yeah, guys, I'm back. Okay, so now this is very clear, right? Okay, now another solution. That was hypervisor, KVM hypervisor. Okay, now again, hey guys, you're there, right? Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what is KVM hypervisor? That is something again, kernel virtual machine hypervisor. Okay. What we do here, we use QEMU. QEMU. Okay. That's a kind of service. Sorry. We run on Linux machine. Now, so in the Linux, right, what we do, we use services, we use Dockers, containers, and multiple stuff, right? So at the same time, what we do, we install the QEM services, right, that allow us to use another format. Okay, one more thing I forget here. This VMware solution, right? This use OVA file extension. Okay, it means, let's say we will go to support portal of the Fortinate, right? And we will see like we have to download any virtual image, right? So that time it will ask us to choose the product. You want to go for VMware, you want to go for KVM, or you want to go for any other solution. It has multiple. Okay, so that time we have to choose for the um VMware, and where we will get actually the OVA file. Okay, I'll show you that also. KVM hypervisor allow us to use a format that
Sorry
is
to interrupt you, sir. This OVA file we will be needing in this ESXi, right? Because yeah,
ESXi
your
virtual.
screen is not visible. Yeah, you need to scroll up. So
Um, yeah, I'm scrolling actually. Mm, Sanjay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen.
Monica, can you just maybe connect or disconnect? Like,
okay, okay,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Let's wait for her. Then we'll start. Yeah, can you see now?
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay, so that's a OV, the one we need in the ESXi or maybe in the workstation, right? Because both
Okay.
are the VMware product. So in
Mm-hmm.
the product, what we need the OVA file. Sometimes it will be OVF file also. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. OVA is a single file that you get. If you get the OVF, that will have 2 or 3 more files, like for the setting and all. Okay. Now, the moment we talk about the KVM hypervisor directly on the Linux machine, right? It means on your hardware, what you will be doing, you will be installing a Linux machine. Okay. And over top of Linux, you will just enable one service, that is QEMU services. That's it, that you have to enable, right? And then what you can do, you can start running your QCow2. This is 2. Basically, we will have QCow1 also, right? And this is, I don't know the full form. I forget. But yeah, this is version 2 actually. QCow version 2. Okay. So that's a format. It means it would be like fgt.qcow2 that you have to download. It means, yeah, once we go to the support portal, we'll go to the Vim images, right? We'll have the option over there to choose the KVM images. Okay, that I'll show you. So this KVM you can install over top of this. So now we have 2 different solutions. Depends what company is using. There are chances company will be using KVM hypervisor, right? And sometimes they will be using your VMware solution. Okay. Now KVM hypervisor, assume they have other services also. They are running some, let's say, developers, right? What they do, they use directly Linux um to do some coding, to basically enable some Dockers, to enable some containers, right? So if we have that kind of infra, that kind of solution, right, they will be using definitely the KVM hypervisor. So we should know this also. What exactly extension we use. Okay. Now, this is clear. The KVM hypervisor. This is a Linux-based solution. Okay. And the service name is QEMU. Okay. Next.
Okay.
Next is Microsoft Hyper-V. Again, you see, the solution is same, but this runs on the Microsoft Hyper-V. It means over top of that Windows 10, let's say Windows 10 will have the Hyper-V enable. What you can do now, you can install, you can have a format that is VHD, virtual hard disk. That's the extension. It means now if someone asks about VMware, or you want to have the VMware solution, right? You have to ask for the, or you have to download the OVA file. If someone is using KVM hypervisor, you have to download the QCOW2 file. And if someone is using Microsoft Hyper-V, you have to use the VHD file. Got it? Any confusion, any doubt you do have?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. Now, let us talk about some basic component or basic way of using the box. The moment you will have a physical appliance, right? Okay, do you know the difference between console port? Okay, what is console port? Just basic idea. Can you give me?
Yes, yes.
What is console port?
Console port is that port, like, sir, where we can, from where we can access the CLI of the device.
Okay. If someone asks this in the interview, so this will be your answer, final answer?
Mm. Yeah, just to take the console access of the device, we can use console port.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay, fine. Look, guys, what happens actually? We know the technical stuff. We know everything, but sometimes, let's say if in the interview, right, we have to explain in a different way, because console port is a console port. Yes, we can access via the console port, but technically we should answer. Technically, we should use the technical words to explain the stuff. I'll explain, no worries. Even you know those stuff. Okay. Now, what is MGMT port? What is this one now?
Management port.
Management port. But now we had the answer that we can to access CLI, we use console port. So what to access what we use MGMT port? Any
Where
other?
you can configure the uh, like a management port, where you can access via remote, or uh,
Okay.
the Palo Alto firewall
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
management port.
Okay, right. What happens actually? MGMT port is a layer 3 port to get the access to the device. Console port is a without any, let's say, console port is something without any layer 3 connectivity, we can access the box using that specific port, right? So here in the console port, we do not need any connectivity. We don't need any layer 3 connectivity. But in the MGMT port, that allow us to use the directly L3 connectivity, and through that we can access the same CLI, or we can access the GUI. But if I just talk about the console port, we can get the CLI access only, right? So let's say
Right,
assume
sir.
someone is asking the interview, right? Explain in the different way. Console port is a way to access CLI only, right? But that does not provide any layer 3 connectivity. But when we talk about the MGMT port, that allow us to access the device CLI GUI via layer 3 connectivity. Okay. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Um, Monica, this is clear to you?
Yeah, yeah, clear, sir.
Okay. So you see, we know the stuff, but what happens actually, the way we are answering, that we have to make sure that that is more technical actually, right? Because in the interview there are two person, right? One is talking about more technical, one is just they know everything, right? But the guy don't know how to answer, how to use those technical words. Okay, so make sure you use always the technical stuff to answer everything. Okay, next thing. Now this FortiGate firewall and even other firewalls, Palo Alto or other firewalls, right? They will have console port and they will have MGMT port. Okay, what do you think if we already have one best port here, MGMT port, by directly using layer 3 connectivity, why they are providing the console port? Or the vendor, they can simply remove it?
For initial configuration.
For initial configuration, no. What happens actually, let me add one more point here. This MGMT port will by default have one default IP address. So this FortiGate firewall will have 192.168.0.1 IP address and default username password, right? It means if I connect my laptop using Ethernet cable to MGMT port, I can directly access this IP address to access CLI, basically SSH or GUI, okay? Basically HTTPS. Okay, CLI and GUI is clear what exactly these naming are?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, command line interface and graphical user interface. Okay, so using that IP address and using that port, using directly my connectivity, layer 3 connectivity, I can directly get the access to SSH or HTTPS. So do you really think that is required now, this console port?
Yes, anytime update the iOS or anything
Yeah, awesome.
like something.
Exactly. Because you see, that's a layer 3 actually. That has some IP address. If I'll reboot the box, if I will install the new NOS, if I'll upgrade something, or if let's say the NOS is not there, right? That is corrupted. I have to install the new NOS, right? Those admin operations, or we can say those very basic operation, if we have to do only console port, we can only use console port that time to do those such operations, right? So that's why, yes, both ports are really required. Console is really required. We can't keep like, okay, we have the MGMT port, so let's opt out of this one. No, we can't do that actually, right? We cannot omit this one. We have to keep the console port, right? Yeah, this was a perfect answer. So whenever we do those operations, right, we need this console port, correct? Because MGMT, a layer 3 port, it means that's a configuration over top of your NOS. If the NOS is corrupted, you can't really access via the MGMT port, right? Sometimes you will see MGT only, okay? That is also management. Sometimes you will see MGMT, sometimes you will see MGT only. So, but both are same. Okay.
So you mean to say like for a configuration purpose, we are using console port, huh?
Not exactly configuration. If I'll just talk about the configuration, right? Configuration we can directly even do through the MGMT port. But assume, look here, MGMT port is a okay. Let me just talk about a Cisco router. Assume we have a Cisco router and I do have a console port only. Assume, right? We do have console port only in Cisco router. Let's say I want to bring up this switch or router in my network. What I'll be doing? First of all, I'll be accessing the device via CLI, via this
Mm.
console port. I'll use one of the port and I'll configure one of the IP addresses as a layer 3 IP address and I'll connect to my router or something, right? Now,
Okay.
that interface will have IP address, but that is over top of your NOS only. If that NOS is corrupted, right, you can't really access that IP address, correct? In the
Mm.
same way, this MGMT interface will have IP address, definitely, but that's a layer 3 IP address, right? You see, it
Mm.
means somewhere in your NOS, the 40 NOS, right? You will have that IP address. It means if your NOS is corrupted or you want to install the new NOS, that particular time, that meantime, that downtime, you can't really access that IP address, right? You have to connect your box via the console port, correct?
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
If not clear, you can ask your question again. That is okay. Okay?
No, no.
Okay, cool. So that is a layer 3, right? So layer 3 can be down due to any bug or something, right? So what option we do have then? We have the console mode actually. That will always be up and running until your device is up and running, right? Okay, cool. Any confusion, any doubt till this point? All good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Okay, now let us discuss about FortiGate operating system, or how these vendors use these NOS. Okay. Now, when we talk about, let's say, Cisco operating system, what we do have? We have iOS, we have iOS XE, we have iOS XR, right? Correct. Now, when we talk about these NOS, right? So it is not like they really have these operating system, correct? What they are using actually in the background, they are using Linux. Linux is a base, correct? Now, when you talk about Linux, right? Linux is something, they have a set of commands, right? And set of commands are something we can say, what do we call it? Let's say, I'll take an example. Okay, even a general Linux machine. Let's say you want to run something. Okay, you can directly run. If I want to, let's say, and you want to modify something, you can actually do. You can modify every single directory, every single, even kernel file you can modify, right? Those kernel decisions you can change. Same here. When we talk about, let's say, the Microsoft Windows, the Mac operating system, we can't really do the modification on those kernel directories, those other directories, right? Those are encrypted. Okay. Now, so what happens actually? This Microsoft, these Mac, right? They really do not provide any key or any source code to do any modification. But in the Linux, that is free to use, right? And we have all the source code available online to access any single directory. It means all those directories are basically publicly available. And then if you want to modify any specific configuration, any specific directory, any specific module or component, right, you can actually do that. Okay. So all those vendors, what they are using actually, they are using Linux as a base machine. Over top of that, they are using some languages, assume Python, assume C++, assume other languages, right? So that's a shell actually, right? And then they are naming it a new operating system, iOS, iOS XE, and iOS XR might be, right? So on the Cisco routers, whenever we run any command, right, whatever we run, actually we run the command on the shell. Okay. So these are kind of actually shell. These are not the real operating system. The real operating system is a Linux. Okay. It is not like they are directly using Linux, directly just pick the Linux machine and do the stuff. No. Even they are doing in this Linux machine, they are doing some enhancement. Okay. And then over top of that, they are putting this shell. Because you see, if I ask you to do some configuration on the Linux only, but on the other hand, you are using Cisco router. Cisco router is also using same Linux machine in the as a base machine, right? Cisco is more, we can say, first of all, user friendly. Okay. Other is Cisco is more stable solution, right? It means if you configure, we are very sure, 100% sure that will work actually, right? But if I'll do some configuration in the Linux, right, manually, let's say I'll configure static route, I'll configure netting, I'll configure the stuff, right? There are chances sometimes that will work, sometimes that will not work, because those codes or those directories or those stuff are not really stable, right? But Cisco, what they have done? They have done that level of enhancement that once you configure, that will definitely work, 100% sure, right? And more user friendly. Assume in the Linux you want to verify all of your interfaces and you want to see the status. You will run some command IP space or something, right? But that time you will get n numbers of stuff, n numbers of interfaces, n numbers of information. What the Cisco is doing in the shell, using this shell, they're running the same command in the background. Let's say if you run here, show IP interface brief, that go in the background, run the IP space A command, right? Get the output, filter the output, and just show interface list, the status, IP address, or maybe the protocol status, the neighbor is up or down. Only these four status will show in a single line, 1 1 1 1 1 like that, right? So that is more user friendly, right? And assume to configure NAT in the Linux, we need to play with, let's say, 4 different directory, assume. And then at last, we have to enable the service also, or we have to restart the service also directly on the Linux. But what Cisco is saying in the shell, just put your inputs, whatever you want in the NAT, and execute your command in the background. I will do all those stuff, right? So that is more user friendly and more, we can say, stable than your Linux machine, correct? So why we are learning this one? Because Fortigate Firewall. Okay. What's the history of Fortigate Firewall? History, basically the NOS history. Okay. One company was FreeBSD actually. This FreeBSD. Okay. What they did actually, they used the same Linux machine and they did some enhancement in respective to security. Basically, some database, some ACL kind of stuff, your security features, antivirus, and numbers of things they have done. They have done some enhancement, right? And the NOS name is FreeBSD. Okay. Now, it means if you download FreeBSD directly in your laptop and you will install that, you will be able to use security features. Okay, just like Palo Alto, FortiGate, those security features. But again, if I can directly use FreeBSD, so why we are trying to purchase the FortiGate and these stuff? Because again, the same way. First of all, user-friendly way. Other one is your stability. It means what, let's say now this Fortinate company, they are using FortiGate solution, right? FortiNOS. Okay. Now, FortiOS. So what they have done, they are using the FreeBSD exactly same with more enhancement. It means they have done a lot of changes in the code, in the NOS, in the kernel, definitely. They have enabled few more services. They have modified a few more services and number of things they have done, right? And then they are using a new shell, right? So that shell we are using here, okay? And that name is Forti, correct? So this FortiOS, or even if I talk about the Palo Alto or any other firewall company, actually in the background, they are using FreeBSD. So let's say you will work in a company in the FortiGate, assume, right? As a kind of engineer who is helping the developer to create the new widgets, to create the new information, or to add some new protocols even. So you should know the FreeBSD that time, because if you know the FreeBSD, how that works, how many directories we have, where we have the routing directory, where we have the protocols directory, where we have the netting directory, you can give the information to the developer and they can basically enhance the FortiGate GUI behavior or the CLI behavior, right? Okay. So this Forti knows they are using this FreeBSD in the background as a base operating system. Or directly if someone asks, you can just tell them FortiGate is using Linux as a base machine, and over top of that, they have done the enhancement and they're putting a new shell, and they are whatever you work. Let's say you go to CLI, you run some commands, and you see we have very limited commands. Once we have the new version, we will see few more new commands. It means that's a shell only. They're adding few more enhancement. They're adding some new commands, right? They're doing some modification in the Linux, and then they are adding some shell command in the CLI also, right? That's what we have actually, right? So that's a kind of base of your FortiNOS. Okay. Any questions? Any doubt you do have? Any confusion? Guys, you can ask your questions if you do
Not
have.
from my side, sir.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. Kaushal, anything from your side?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So now let's see how we can access the FortiGate cloud. Okay, and how we can basically download the operating system. One of them, like your maybe KVM, maybe VMware, right? How we can download that actually, and how we can install that. Okay, that we'll see now. 1 minute, let me share my screen. Hello, UD. Can you see my screen? Browser, can you see? Yeah, guys, can you see my browser?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so support. Oh yeah, this one. For support.fortinate.com. Okay, so you have to access this website. Okay, create. Okay, so you guys can create your account first. Create your account. Put the details and stuff, everything you have to put. Just go next, 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 next. Right, you have to create your account. Okay, once you create your account, go to your login page. Login. Let me check the code. Yes, I'm just waiting for the token. Hey guys, I think I'm not getting the code. Okay, but let us wind up this call. Okay, what you guys can do, just create your account before the next class. Okay, go to support.fortinate.com, create your account, register yourself. Okay, and then you will be able to log in and you will be able to download the stuff. And the same account we will be using to basically activate one license. Okay.
So we have to register on this portal, huh?
Yes. Support.fortinate.com. Go there and just create an account. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Sanjay and Kaushal, you guys can do okay the same thing. So before the next class, make sure your credentials are ready. So you guys can also do the same thing. What I'll teach you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Any doubt before winding up?
No, sir.
Monica, anything from your side?
I think so. Will we get this recording session?
Yeah, maybe in 1.5 hours I'll share.
Okay.
Yeah.